Welcome back and thanks for staying with us. You are watching SA Today with me, Unathi Bagyashe. Let's continue now with our conversation. We are in discussion with Mr. Mike Walwyn, a director of South African Association of Freight Forwarders, who joins us now via Teams. Of course, we are discussing the situation that is playing itself out at the Durban ports in terms of those delays. Mr. Walwyn, thank you so much for your time. So millions of rands, as we were saying, have been lost due to these delays in moving these shipping containers. Just talk to us about the impact that this has on business and the country's economy in general.
Sure. I mean, it has a huge impact on both of those and on the country as a whole, on the taxpayers and citizens of the country. It's one of those things that permeates the entire society that we live in. Because without logistics, which can be likened to the blood flow, if you like, in a body, and logistics is that blood flowing, and when that stops, you have a problem. And that, in simple terms, is where we are. It's something we've been talking to Transnet and government about for a long time as an association. We could see this kind of problem developing, and it's been very difficult until fairly recently to have a proper two-way conversation. We are now doing that, but unfortunately, this thing is not going to have a quick fix. It's not going to make a decision and by end of December it'll be running. Our opinion, we might be lucky if we started seeing some meaningful improvement by March. So unfortunately, we've got to go through living with this for a while yet.
Now, Transnet estimates that this particular backlog and delays in moving the shipping containers, through its key ports in Durban have so far cost at least 160 million rands in lost revenue. And of course, this is a state-owned transport group that is already in dire straits in terms of financial situation. President Cyril Ramaphosa, as you know, as well as the Public Enterprises Minister Pravin Gordhan are in Durban. They are about to brief the media on the ongoing challenges. What action would you like them to take, particularly as it relates to this current crisis that we are seeing unfolding?
Well, the first thing is that the ports, in our view, become a bigger problem than Eskom even. They have to be kept going. So we have heard Treasury saying and Ministry saying that they're not interested in giving any more money to Transnet, but I'm afraid that gets us nowhere. It just pushes them down faster. And that's what we don't want. So what we'd like to see coming out of this is a couple of things. First of all, that there will be some sort of funding made available. Transnet's problem is about a few things. One of them is shortage of equipment that should have been replaced and wasn't. And of course, maintenance of existing equipment. Both of those things cost quite a lot of money. So there needs to be some money to make that happen. If it doesn't happen, we're in a downward spiral all the way. So that's the first thing. The second thing is in terms of the way the terminals operate, we think it has to be in some form of public-private partnership. Now we see this in other countries, not least in Mozambique right next door. It works very well. We can't understand why it hasn't happened before. You're probably aware that Transnet have now announced a partnership with a Filipino terminal operator who are very good. That's a step in the right direction, but that's one terminal, admittedly the biggest one, and that's one in Durban. There's still another one in Durban, and there's Cape Town, and there's Mufra, and Quebec. All of these have container terminals. They all need attention. If we can get that going and we get a more solid platform, then we can really build on it and get back to where we should be. Our productivity levels in terms of the rate at which we handle cargo are probably running at about 50% of what they can be, and we know that because not long ago we know what rates they were achieving. And when I say not long ago, that's in the last 5 years or so.
Now, the Durban Chamber of Commerce has also, of course, come in, weighing in on the situation, just talking about some of the delays that we are seeing that, in January we were sitting at around about, just a day and a half to now we're sitting over 2 weeks and in most cases even more, serious. They are obviously raising concerns about the crane maintenance, which is deteriorating and has been doing so since 2017. What then should be the solution here as it, relates to maintenance at at the ports, particularly to alleviate some of the delays that we are seeing. And of course, these are giving the country a very bad state, or they are putting the country in a very bad state in terms of even the reputation of moving goods fast enough.
Yes, you just touched on a very important point. That reputational damage is a lot more serious than most people understand, because you can't put a rand value on it, but believe me, it's worth a lot of money. So you're quite right about that. Now, what happens, the delays and the maintenance? Yes, well, as far as maintenance is concerned, Transnet have told us in the last few days that they have a plan to call in the OEMs, that's the original equipment manufacturers, for some direct work in maintaining and bringing old equipment up to scratch. That would certainly assist. But I have to point out that in years gone by, not that long ago, as I say, Transnet had a very skilled engineering force, and they were able to carry out a lot of maintenance off their own bat. Now, as you probably know very well, when you offer voluntary severance to 700 odd people, and as usually happens in these cases, the best of the best and the skilled people take the package and they're gone. So that's a reservoir, a vacuum of skills that now exists. And that's one of the reasons why this constant reliance on the OEMs wasn't always like that. But nevertheless, it's got to be like that. And Transnet, under new management, is now saying, yes, they understand that and they're going to do it. And we applaud them for that. And we will support them any way we can in doing that.
Just talking about the various issues, because just listening to you, it does seem like there are a lot of moving parts in as far as this crisis is concerned. There's another element, of course, and that is of safety. Just last week at the Lebombo border crossing between Komati and Mozambique, we saw, of course, taxi drivers as well as truck drivers, clashing and bringing traffic there to a standstill. How serious is that problem?
It is, and it's again, I'm afraid, something which we can partly lay at Transnet's door. One of the reasons there's so much congestion at Maputo, or at the border post at Komati, is that the port and the system there is only designed to handle a specific number of trucks per day. Already far more than that is going through. You may ask why, and the reason is that the rail line is dysfunctional, not carrying what it could and should be doing. And you can say the same about Richards Bay. The whole problem about Richards Bay is simply that. The coal terminal is good, it functions well, but it can only accept cargo by rail. It can handle 80 million tons a year of coal, and at the moment it's handling very little. It's getting some trains through. But last year they lost 20 million tons of coal that could have gone through there. And again, a failure in the railway system.
Mr. Walwyn, thank you so much for your time this afternoon. Really, really do appreciate it. Of course, that was Mike Walwyn, a director at the South African Association of Freight Forwarders, just talking to us there about what is currently unfolding at the Durban ports.